I just turned on the podium mic. I didn't seem to have a mic here on my remote. I can talk pretty loud. Okay. Today we're going to be starting a new topic. No more downers. This is a woman in 1926 in Prohibition, my kind of woman. She got a flask under her garter. You know, it was illegal from 1920 to 1933. That's not stopping her. She's going to have fun. I like her little dainty flask. I know that I couldn't do the question on Monday, so I'm hoping today that I'm going to go ahead and do a question on the Chapter 6 material. And just let me know, I can't seem to get anything out of this mic, so I was trying to talk a little bit louder. So the question I'll be asking today will be on all-arounders or hallucinogens. And just want to check your blackboard real quick here. Make sure everybody knows what's going on. So if you look at your calendar, if you go to Tools, you'll see when you can complete all 30 of your points. You have this available to you all the time. So, of course, on Monday, the 7th, I could not add a point. I indicated that as 0 points. Today we'll do 2 points, Friday 2 points, Monday 2 points, and then on Monday, the 14th, if you have not missed any days, right here you should be able to have your 30 points, right here, on the 14th. So I did say that there would be extra clicker sessions because we still have extra to go. So people who have this clicker because they forgot it, had a bad battery, something else happened when they were making the class, this is an opportunity for you to make up your points that you missed. You can only get 30 points, which is 10% of your grade of 300. That counts towards class participation, so that's 30 points. Once you have that, I'd rather you not keep responding because I had to go back and make sure nobody is over 30. So after this, you'll have 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. I'm going to change this up to 2 points. You have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 points that you can make up at the extra clicker sessions. I just ask a question like I always have. And people who don't have their 30 can respond, participate, and continue to collect points. So everybody should be done. There's won't be any clickers after April 25th. The calendar also shows you that the online course evaluations have started. So if you saw the 2 announcements that I made, one of them was on the ability to earn 3 extra credit points by filling out a course evaluation. I'm doing this because the Dean of the College of Sciences is upset because he says we're not getting enough course evaluations, and he wants us to have those for when the college goes through some kind of an evaluation itself. So I'll give you 3 points. I believe you can access these if you go to ASAP, log on. I think there's a link there. If you're a freshman, talk to some upperclassmen. They've been through it. Usually get pretty inundated by information. Do a course evaluation. So just be honest. It doesn't take very long to do it. I don't ask you to do one favorably for me. Just do an honest evaluation. I just want to have the ability to tell the dean that we got more evaluations. You don't have to email me. When you complete the evaluation, turn it in online. ASAP begins to collect a list of everyone in my sections, my classes, the completed one, and I'll see your name there, and you will have 3 points added to your highest exam score. So I made an announcement on that. You may want to check those announcements. Also, starting on the 20th here, can't see it so well, but all online quizzes are open between the 20th and the 27th. So if you look at this calendar, if you click on here, it gives you more information. So if you missed the deadline on a quiz, now's the time to backfill it. So if you missed this deadline, you're going to close on April 27th at 11:59. I can't help you after that. I mean, I've done everything I can. If you can't handle completing them at this point, then you just don't get the points. Okay? You just need to step up a little bit and not miss deadlines the way some people have. I know there's a lot of people, once they knew that the quizzes would be reopened, they're doing them, so I'm going to cram them in that week. You know, and if they cram them in that Sunday, well, you know, whatever. But don't come to me and complain if you don't get one completed. All right, so everybody knows. They're open from the 20th to the 27th. I will also send a reminder email on the 20th that they are open. Now, if you complete them all, you may get some kind of weird message saying quiz open, due on the 27th. But you don't have to worry about it. That's because I've reopened them, and you're fine. You completed it. Your points are there. They're not going anywhere. So we're getting close to that 300. We just have one more online quiz for 5 points. And for this class, the April points, we got 2, right here. 2, 4, 6, 8. We have 8 points that are left for April. They'll be posted when I have them under the column, or in your case, my grades under clicker 3. There will be a possible total of 8 points. So you've had, I think, for your class, you've had 12 clicker 1, 10 clicker 2, and now you have 8 clicker 3. That's your 30 clicker points. All right. And of course, always check your announcements. That information is delivered to you there on announcements also. All right. Before I start talking about these drugs, a lot of this, before I start listening to this class, this is kind of an introduction. You don't have to be studying, you don't have to be looking at that. I'm just kind of saying that humans have used psychoactive drugs for thousands of years. They would identify a plant or a fungus or something else that would alter their perception of reality. So that's a common thing that every drug in this class has. It's a little bit more shotgun approach. It's not as specific as a stimulus. Where every stimulus does this, if you do this, you're a stimulus. Downers do this, very clear cut. All rounders, the one thing they have in common is your alteration of your perception of reality. And I want to mention a little bit about this before we get started. People often don't really understand how our brain processes reality. So these drugs have initiated a lot of fear in some people. They assume that if something is causing you to see things or feel things or hear things, that it must be destroying your brain, because those are symptoms they might see in somebody who has a mental illness. And it is true, there is some overlap, but the effects of these drugs tend to be, don't overlap directly with what happens with people who have disease like schizophrenia, and they hear voices when there's nobody there, and they have delusions, false beliefs, and things like that. So what I want you to think about right now is you do not see things, everything in your reality. Your brain, even with 100 billion neurons, doesn't have the time to focus on everything that's around you. So your brain is constantly reflecting, just paying attention to what's important. So you can imagine back when you were hunter-gatherers, avoiding predators and finding game and finding food, that was important, and that's what you focus on. So people tend to think that their vision is a photograph of what's out there, that your hearing is a recording of what's out there. Not at all. Not at all. What is happening in your head are simply active potentials. And it comes from, if they're triggered by photons, hitting your retina, going to the visual cortex, you get active potentials there. If airwaves hit your eardrum, stimulate hair cells in your cochlea, you have active potentials going to your auditory cortex. All receptors in your body, proprioceptively, send active potentials up into your brain so you feel where you are in space. Your inner ear, odorless, your gravity up and down. But it is just active potentials. from the day you were born, and even in the fetus, your brain is getting this tremendous input of all these action potentials. This stuff starts to sort out what reality is. That's all it sees is action potentials, okay? If I took your optic nerve and hooked it to your auditory cortex, then you would hear photons. See what I'm saying? It's just your brain transduces anything that's out there into action potentials. That's all I understand. So what you perceive as reality is very selective. So changing reality isn't such a big deal. If I asked you to look at a picture or a portrait of a family, and I said, how old are these people? You wouldn't look at, you don't look at the whole picture. We can put little contact lenses that allow to track your eye movement. You would be looking at the hands and faces of people. But if I asked you, how much money, how wealthy are these people, you wouldn't look at their faces and hands, you look at all the objects, their clothes, what's in the room. So you don't see everything. Your brain fills in a lot. It's going to assume that there's 100,000 people in a stadium as you look at the stands. It just knows that, okay, this end is where my fans are, that end over there. It kind of fills in. It's sort of like, what do they do where they digitally fill in? Photoshop, okay? It's going to assume that there's massive people there. Who has time during the course of the day, even with 100 billion neurons, to be sensitive to everything? You have to be selective. So you're standing in a room called the cocktail effect. You're having a conversation here. People are having conversations all around you. You don't really think it's happening. But you're not paying attention until somebody over there says Debbie. And then oriented. Because the auditory signal Debbie is a high priority for my brain. From birth, I'm trained that that's what my name is. So I always orient to it. A newborn mother. She doesn't hear thunder and lightning. She's so tired she's dead asleep. Her baby peeps. She's awake. Okay? Do you see what I'm getting at? It's what you create as reality is what has been decided what to support. And it can be changed. I could give all of you prism glasses so that that's the floor and that's the ceiling. Okay? Flip it. You're kind of sitting there. There's the chair before, there's the ceiling. You pour this hot water, it'll pour upward into the glass. So yeah, you're kind of disoriented. Your whole life has been spent putting together a reality based on that is the floor where gravity presses you down, and that's the ceiling, and that's going to be the ceiling. Within about 6 days, your brain would say, okay, you can deal with this. This is reality. You don't even notice it's different. You can see people put cameras on people. They're riding bikes. There's the grass. There's the sky. Because the brain says, okay, this is a new reality. We're comfortable with it. So if it's just signal arriving, it can be whatever you want it to be. Now I say that because people kind of think there's a little guy in your head who sees, a little guy in your head who hears. So you talk about drugs altering reality, it's like, oh my God, it must be poisoning the person in your head. So what was exciting about these drugs initially was that people thought it would help us explain how the brain works. Because it could cause you to see reality a different way. And some people see reality incorrectly. They're not mentally ill, but they're consumed by anxiety. They're constantly thinking that the next moment is going to be a catastrophe. I will flunk. I will have a car accident. My child will die. And that's not reality. That's something generated by action potentials. And if you can change that person's reality, you can help, relieve them of that problem. But you have to accept the fact that it's just being generated by brain cells and action potentials. Okay, so after I took your prism glasses off you and things flipped, now maybe for about 8 to 10 hours you'd be a little disoriented, but since your brain has had a couple of decades to get used to that's the ceiling, that's the floor, then it would switch. Okay. So people who are altering their perception of reality, things are being processed differently. That's it. Okay. There are not chemicals that are going to be melting, burning, and scooping brain cells. We still get that in this country. And I have college kids who still are going to say, well, LSD is responsible for it. Stay on your head and trip's better. And it comes back out and then has flashbacks. I've been hearing that for 30 years. It drives me nuts. Don't they teach anything in grade school anymore? I think a sixth grader can understand that drugs work through specific chemicals in your brain, neurotransmitters. If you didn't have a natural painkiller, you wouldn't have a morphine to be able to work. But still they do. This is your brain on drugs. And sixth graders tune them out. Adults. God. I don't know if people do drugs and they're fine. In fact, they're pretty cool. So then they don't listen to any more adults. And then someone comes along and says, oh yeah, it's like an ice cream scoop out of your brain. Oh really? Yeah, I'm sure we would survive as a species if things went and scooped out our brain. So I expect you at this point to be an ambassador and let people know, whoa, whoa, whoa. Drugs are specific. They work in natural mechanisms we already have. We have neurotransmitters that integrate sensory and input so that we know hearing, sight, whatever. So if we were to alter how those neurons were integrating those signals coming in, yeah, things would look different. Sometimes things look really different. There's actually a type of hallucination when you take high doses of LSD, which feel like you're above your body floating on the ceiling. Now, I'm not ready for that. People have reported something like that sometimes when they have near-death experiences, looking down at themselves on an operating table. So what that means is there must be part of your brain that keeps track of when you're inside your body and when you're outside. Isn't that a trip? I mean, why do you have that hallucination? If it wasn't part of your brain that says, okay, we're inside now. Oh, now we're outside looking down. I mean, it's like, whoa, why would we need that part of the brain? But obviously we do, because you alter certain brain function, you feel like you're outside. So that's the big danger with these drugs. They're not frying your brain, but they can certainly traumatize people who aren't ready for that. I'm not ready to be outside my body. I mean, how about the average 15-year-old? That's the best thing about these drugs, is that people get scared. So you're in the midst of this, and you're going, I don't want to hallucinate anymore. Wait. Well, drugs can run its course. And if you don't have people around you who might help you calm down, it gets really bad. Suddenly, every altered reality you experience is negative because you're so scared. Things look ugly. Things look, you feel like you're going to die. And then the worst thing is, especially young guys, is they're laughing at that kid. Oh my God, look at him. He is flipping out there. They're laughing. They tease about it later. You were crying like a bitch, man. You were so scared, you know. You wanted to go to the closet. So not only does the person experience something really traumatizing nobody even wants to hear about, they're going to bury that, you know. And it is traumatic. And when people laugh at things like that or don't understand it, if you have been in combat seeing somebody's face blown off when you go to speak to them, how do you explain it to somebody? This is your person here, your man, your partner. Doesn't have face anymore. You didn't mean to blow up those kids, but man, that's the coordinates. How can you explain it to somebody who doesn't go through it? And so a lot of young people get further traumatized because their friends don't understand. They're teasing them. So you bury it, and it comes back as a type of post-traumatic stress. Because a lot of people, particularly guys, when they feel like they're not in control anymore, it traumatizes them. They can't tell the drug to stop. They can't, and things just keep getting uglier and uglier, and they're really have bad problems. So that's the thing. It's having a psychologically traumatic event happen. It can really hurt people. And there are people who are borderline, you all know them, a little bit extra paranoid, a little bit extra, I don't know, sketchy here and there, and that's without drugs. You can imagine what happens when they take some of these drugs. They already are vulnerable in terms of not perceiving reality the right way anyway. They're always saying, so you have somebody who, and what happens is that schizophrenic mental illness, unfortunately, begins to be displayed around 18 to 25. So when do people start using some of these drugs? Between the ages of 18 and 25. So when they get mentally ill, it's the drug that causes it. Well, we know enough about schizophrenia that a drug can't make the changes in your brain that occurs if you do an autopsy of a former schizophrenic patient. There's something very big going on there where neurons are aligned differently. But it wasn't the drug, but they were overlapping together. So what's the family going to say, of course? It was a drug that destroyed my son. It was a drug that made him mentally ill. And I can understand. They say that about pot, too. Pot made him crazy. Well, there's an overlap of when he may have been starting to express these unusual symptoms. Well, a common paranoid delusion of schizophrenia is somebody's planted a chip in their head. They're controlling them. That young man shot the people in Arizona, the congressman in the head, and blew away her verbal abilities for, I don't know how she should get back, but he stood up in Polly's classroom and said that he was being controlled, we're all going to have chips in your head. Well, that is a classic paranoid schizophrenic delusion. And he was smoking pot, yeah, and he was doing other things. He may have tried to make himself medicate. But he was on a path. You've seen the pictures of him now? He got the eyes. He's out there now. So I can understand how that frightens people. But if misinformation keeps going on out there, when people do try, I'm not promoting any of this at all. But I'm saying when people do, at least have a few tools to understand what's going on. Because now what happens is if it goes bad, people make it 10 times worse. And if you are starting to feel strange in terms of your, development or things like that, how you feel about yourself, the world, these drugs aren't going to help. I mean, if you're totally secure in yourself, like Timothy Leary at Harvard, he took so much LSD, he sat on a roof for 4 days and didn't talk. Because he knew that the drug would somehow enlighten him. He had no fear. But that was him, okay? So I just want to let you know, most people who experience some of these drugs do not have bad experiences. But you sure hear about the bad experiences, okay? And that's what kind of colors it. So, but there is a strong curiosity about these drugs. So let's go down to these categories first. Just want to kind of give you an idea, what is reality? Because it's important when you study these drugs. Well, although they're kind of all over the place in terms of what is and what isn't a all-arounder, there are 5 categories that we'll talk about. Sometimes you'll hear me talk about these drugs as hallucinogens. Sometimes you may hear me talk about them, calling them an older term called psychedelics. It's all the same thing. Okay, your book says all-rounders. Okay, so the big class that we'll start with are called indole psychedelics. So what does that mean? Well, there is certain chemicals had indole ring structure. If you've ever taken chemistry, you can draw the structure of a molecule. It's got those are bonds and all that. Well, indole rings are found in certain chemicals. So all of these have an indole ring. Your neurotransmitter serotonin also has an indole ring in its structure. So that was a clue that maybe drugs in this group might be acting through the serotonin neurotransmitter system. I haven't talked a lot about serotonin. It is another drug that, like dopamine, norepinephrine, it tends to be a group of cells that have neurons that project all up into your cortex. So it's a small group of cells that have kind of global effects on your behavior. The problem with serotonin is there's like 20 different kinds of serotonin receptors, which allows this chemical to control different things using different receptors. So it's really complicated. We had a hard time with it. You've probably heard about serotonin and mood, depression. You may have heard about serotonin and sleep. You may have heard about serotonin and appetite. Those are all things that are affected. There's also a unique group of cells that kind of integrate your sensory inputs coming in from all your senses, and they also have serotonin receptors on them. So we took a while to find those. So let's start with those indoles. The big daddy of all hallucinogens is LSD. We start with that, synthetic. But there is some natural indole psychedelics. Some mushroom species have psilocybin and psilocin in them. In South America, there's plants that have a compound abbreviated DMT. This is indole hallucinogen. So in ancient cultures, what people often did is they kind of saw these plants, not to party with, but to allow them to talk to God. It revealed things to them when they were intoxicated. So you might talk to your spirit God. You might time travel, talk to your ancestors. So that was kind of a cultural thing with the plants. And everybody didn't do it. Maybe just the shaman of the tribe, or maybe just the elders. The Comanche, the tribes that was here locally, running all over the place, 400 years ago, they used mescaline from the St. John and peyote cactus that grows northern Mexico and south Texas. And they used that mescaline to answer a question that was troubling the tribe. So it was very focused and directed hallucinations. So that's kind of the second group. We'll talk about they have a totally different structure. I'll explain that to you, the phenylethylamines. Then we've got some that aren't named after their structure. They actually what they do. These drugs block acetylcholine receptors in your brain. They're called anticholinergics. People don't party with them that much because it's kind of a delirious, unpleasant experience. But I'll mention a few. The fourth category, again, is kind of a catch-all. I'll mention PCP, phencyclidine, and its cousin, ketamine. What's going on there? I'll mention salvia-divinorum and some other drugs that kind of don't fit neatly into these other categories. And the last thing I'll talk about is the cannabinoids. And now I should change this. Most people refer to them as cannabinoids. So there's been so much progress made in how the cannabinoids work. I can actually tell you where the receptors are in the brain, and it's opened things up for some medical uses for these for the cannabinoids. And in our society, things are changing. Most of these drugs were all put on Schedule 1 because of fear. So Schedule 1 means no health benefits, very potential for use. And none of these drugs really, I mean, there's very few people that want to become addicted to LSD. I mean, the thing with these drugs is they're so powerful. If you use it 3 days in a row, you lose your hallucinations on the third day because your receptors desensitize so fast, being overstimulated. So, the more, and in fact, some of them may have medical problems, and marijuana has been used for, hundreds of years as medicine. So it's not in the high addiction range. It's not, and it does have medical uses, but it was a political thing. I mentioned when Prohibition was repealed in 1933, people said, listen, we're going to drink. People are, it was kind of like, if you have a law that too many people disobey, it becomes fractious in society. So that happened with alcohol. That's why the 18th Amendment was repealed by the 19th Amendment, 1933. So the people that were anti-drinkers kind of were sort of out of job. They had set all these political offices. So they picked another drug, and that was marijuana, to kind of demonize. So in 1937, marijuana went on to the Schedule I list, not based on science or anything like that. It was connotated as these brown people from across the border might bring it up and corrupt our white kids, the typical fear that happens with some people, but something new and different. So 1937, it wasn't actually written that it's illegal, but they made it very complicated to grow and harvest and transport marijuana. You had all these special taxes that you had to get, and nobody wanted to go there because it was like a setup. So there we have it. So we're a little behind other countries in terms of studying what potential these drugs might have, but maybe that's changing. So the same thing happened with marijuana. So many people are not obeying the law. There's a couple ways you can go. You can become like East Germany and have Stasi come and sit in everybody's house. Or they say, well, we'll make it so draconian penalties, nobody will do it. Well, that doesn't work for young people. Knowing that you're going to go to jail forever, life without parole, a young person can't even conceive of that. They don't have enough of a prefrontal cortex to even appreciate what that means until after they're in the situation. Okay, your brain at this part of your highest level of reasoning maybe finishes up around with age 23 or so. So they say, well, no one will do it because we have death penalty. Well, there's lots of people on death row, okay? That's not how the brain works, right? You don't sit there and go, I cannot do this because I will die. It doesn't even enter the equation because of the way the brain works, particularly young people. So what happens is we had draconian rules, mandatory sentencing, and everybody was in jail for nonviolent first-time drug crimes. Other people were like, this is, so there were people, so a couple of young people in Michigan, a joint, 20 years, mandatory sentence. Even the judges were like, what? Because the judges like to look at you and decide. They don't want somebody, politician, saying, you must give a mandatory sentence. So that's what bankrupted California, 3 strikes and you're out. Well, what if the third strike is taking a pair of socks from Goodwill because you don't have any? That's your third strike, and that's going to give you a parole, life sentence without parole. So California has so many people in prison, it was ridiculous. So there was a feeling, there was this kind of, in the society, something's not right. It's like prohibition. So many people are doing this. We should be able to think about alcohol, we get so many taxes from it. The government says, we'll sell it. We have 8 liquor stores, we won't get the money, not Al Capone. So I can see the same thing kind of happening here, doors open there. Now, should everybody run around and intoxicate with pot? Well, I'm the first person to say moderation is key. Plus, if you smoke pot every day, you're so tolerant to it, you don't get the kind of buzz you used to. You just kind of feel normal. I mean, you're just using it to not want to use it, And who wants to go there? It's like tissue dependence. I don't do it high, it's just I don't feel right if I'm not doing it. I don't feel normal when I'm high. Well, that's kind of the fun side of it. First, it's really expensive. You're so tolerant, you need the primo bud to even feel something. And you're not getting those wild feelings you did before. It's just kind of like, yeah, I'm normal now. So I will explain that to you also. Because some people are so pro-pot, they get angry with me. Well, no, you don't get tolerant. I'm like, well, what drugs have these chemicals are special? They're too far on the other side. They think pot could never do anything to your brain. Well, it's just like any other drug. Use it every day, you get tolerant. Your endocannabinoid receptors desensitize. So you're losing the strong effect. Someone who's never had it, I had some hydroponic, I think I told you guys that. I hadn't smoked pot in years. I was a real pothead in college. I had a bong in my backpack. It was real. I went to a small liberal arts college in Ohio, in the Amish country there. 1,000 students either studied or you partied. And we were like, these kind of throwback hippies, flower child. But somebody offered me a joint, and I guess it was this high pond. It got so high. I mean, so high, it was painful. And I didn't know this guy so well. I'm looking at this guy's apartment, and I suddenly realized it's so filthy. He had these 3 big dogs, and they're like stinky. We're like, oh my God, when you're high, you just get like freaking out, like, why am I here? This is so bad. I go in the parking lot, I can't find my car. I look around, I didn't remember the building I came out of. I'm just wandering. It was not fun, okay? I had no tolerance, and he was sitting there perfectly normal, because that's what he does. So I'm just saying, if I had been in a better situation, with this examples of the drugs, the mood you're in and the surroundings you're in color your experience. So most of the time now, when I've had marijuana, I've just felt too high, or kind of paranoid, because people are like, oh, you're a professor, you get fired, you know that, and all that. And that's kind of imprinted on me when I came here. So, of course, I get paranoid when I smoke, because I'm not with my old buds I used to have. I mean, buds like friends. That I felt comfortable with. Because that's the thing about it. You had group, you trust each other implicitly. You listen to music, you went camping, you did stuff. And it was pleasant, but, so these things can change. All right. This is a good introduction, because this is going to kind of give you some perspective on what we're talking about. I do want to just say here, the problem with these drugs, I can't give you always the latest. It has a problem getting documentation because they are Schedule 1. There's a lack of standard doses. How much THC is in that one hitter or in that bong, Nobody measures it, so you say, oh, I got really high. Well, what was the dose? Well, I don't know. The joint was this thick, and, So if you don't know what doses people are getting, or blotter acid. Well, it was a big purple thing of blotter acid for LSD. Well, what was the dose? Do you know what you took? So that makes it hard for scientists to study it. And a lot of times what they sell isn't what they say it is. There were so many ecstasy pills out there that had caffeine or amphetamine or something in it, when ecstasy, methylene, oxymethamphetamine dried up for a while. So you're not even getting what you think. So people have experiences not related to the drug. So you kind of, skip through here. Obviously, they do all work through neurotransmitters. Usually, there's one base neurotransmitter. So the other problem is how you feel depends on the size of your dose. A little bit of LSD is very different from a lot of LSD. Your past experience with the drug, if you've never been experienced marijuana before, is different from somebody who does it all the time, or somebody who's experienced psilocybin before, mushrooms. Your emotional makeup. Are you relaxed? Are you happy? Are you paranoid? Are you scared? Exactly where are you in that mood when you do it and your surroundings? Are you safe at home with friends watching a movie? Or are you at a concert, you don't know anybody, you lost your ride home, and now you're like, God, what am I going to do? So those things all affect it, so it's hard to predict. All right, now if you look at physical effects, they tend to lean towards the stimulant. If you see these things, you should think of stimulants. Increased pulse rate, blood pressure, sweating, nausea, sensitivity to sensory stimulation. Those are like your autonomic system is kind of gearing towards the stimulant response. In terms of the emotional, mental effects, I just want to name 3. I can hear you guys talking. Can you just, not talk? Thanks. So the 3 things here are actually psychiatric terms, but they do have some definitions. So to have certain mental effects, you can have what's called an illusion. You don't need to know these for your define an illusion. Is there's a garden hose, and I look over for a second, I think it's snake. You mistake something that's out there. You mistake that's not a snake. Oh, it's a garden hose. Probably the most scary are delusions. These are mistaken ideas or beliefs. And if you have a delusion when you're intoxicated with some of these drugs that your friends are really going to kill you, they're looking really strange, they're going to put you in a trunk and dump you somewhere. And no matter, when you're in the midst of that delusion, you can't just tell the person, stop, get out of here. Because they are in the midst of a mistaken idea that you can't just laugh away. People who have certain schizophrenics believe they're someone famous. Jesus Christ, Sherlock Holmes, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, they have a specific delusion. And these are very smart people. You think, well, yeah, you tell them you're not. Look in the mirror. And they will have so many reasons why you are wrong and they are right. It will make your head spin. They're so smart. So delusion, sometimes you just can't try and refute it with an intoxicated person, but you have to keep them calm. If it's a negative thing where they think somebody's going to harm them. So that will go away. This has been generated by a drug. And then a strong sensory thing would be true hallucination. There's no garden hose there, and you still see something that's a snake. So you're actually generating something out there through your sensory system that, you're generating. Okay, it's coming from inside you. And that is not related to what maybe you're seeing normally from your photons and hairstyles and things like that. So if people aren't ready for that, so it's illusion, delusion, and hallucination, that can be frightening. Some people feel some kind of enlightenment, a new way to look at reality with these things, but some people have bad experiences. So the drug I'm going to introduce you to, that's the first indole, and it's the most potent drug that we'll talk about, synthetic. It also has the most misinformation and urban myths and things like that about it. It is LSD, stands for lysergic acid diethylamide. A specifically is LSD-25. It was first manufactured by a brilliant synthetic chemist, Albert Hoffman, who was working for Sandoz in Switzerland, and he was synthesizing drugs for blood pressure, to change blood pressure. And he was extracting these chemicals from a mold, a fungus. So he wasn't trying to make a hallucinogen. But there are some molds that grow if you eat bread that's made from the grain that has this mold on it. You ingest this toxin, and it causes your peripheral blood vessels to just clamp. I mean, talk about constriction. So they start burning because you don't have any circulation there. And you can actually have gangrene set in because you can't get blood into your fingers or your toes. It's called St. Anthony's fire. Well, something that has such a strong effect on blood vessel constriction, he was very interested in seeing what that molecule looked like, then maybe trying to change it around a little bit, because sometimes you just change the molecule a little bit, and now it would lower blood pressure. Okay? So that was a thing when you're a synthetic chemist. So he had about a couple hundred compounds on the shelf. One of them was LSD-25. Well, he had some on his hand, and this drug can be absorbed through the skin. It's pretty potent. And he started to experience LSD. He was the first person ever experienced the drug. LSD itself was not found in nature, purely synthetic. So he was not really frightened. He was actually kind of like, wow. Next day, he purposely exposes himself to some LSD, not knowing that this is very potent. And he had a very strong hallucination. He went home, rode his bike home, and he kept a journal, and he said, I've traveled the world, but I haven't left my room. I've been tripping on this drug. So he went back to the boss at Sandoz and said, this thing I did accidentally, it's going to explain how the brain works. It's going to explain schizophrenia. So it actually changes how your brain processes reality. Well, Sandoz was happy. They sent it out to different labs for free, saying, can you help study this compound? And there were some psychiatrists, it was not illegal, who used it to help not so much mentally ill people like schizophrenics, but neurotics who refused to see that they could view reality differently. And then the CIA got their hands on it. So that was the big problem. The CIA actually, this is the 50s, Russia, Cold War, world paranoia. They actually believed a movie called Manchurian Candidate was real. It was a story, it's fiction. There's a guy in there that you hypnotize. He doesn't know it, but when he sees the King of Diamonds going to kill this ambassador. So he's going about his business, putting flashes of King of Diamonds, kill this person, and they capture him, torture him, why he did it. He doesn't even know himself, okay, because he somehow. So they thought that was real, okay? These are movies. So they were so desperate to get a mind-controlled drug, or some kind of truth serum, that they gave LSD to people unknowingly. They gave it to some military personnel. They gave it to other people. It was a mess. I mean, there was a chemist who committed suicide. Just 6 years ago, his wife finally settled that he was not suicide. He was poisoned with LSD, and he just freaked out. So all those research experiments are 60 years old now, so they're declassified. So your book shows the cover. Very interesting reading what they were doing with these drugs. But there is no mind-controlled drug. There's even a stupid movie with Ben Stiller where he gets shot in the neck with pentothal, which is a barbiturate. And supposedly you have to tell the truth. That is fantasy, okay? There's not really any way to say, you must tell the truth now. Pentothal is a type of fast-acting barbiturate, sedate you. If you really want to get secrets from somebody, I know how to do it. If it's a guy, you get a beautiful woman, and they get drunk together, and they go to bed. His lips will now start, what do you do again? Oh, really? Tell more. And he's just like, whoa, yeah, dude, I'm going to press this shit. Spills the guts. So if you want to get a truth serum, it's sitting with someone who trusts you and drinking beer together. And they will tell you things that they shouldn't. But no, you can't do this. One more name to give you that pithy theory. He was in Harvard psychology, philosophy. Again, LSD was not legal. He wanted to study it in terms of how the reality, the universe exists. And so he and several professors would do LSD 25 and write up, talk about their experiences. He kind of got labeled with his tune in, turn on, drop out, which scared every parent. It was basically saying, tune into the real world, the Vietnam War is bad, turn on drugs and drop out of college. Now that's a pretty drastic thing. You can imagine, he got fired. And he says that he really didn't say that directly, it was misquoted. All right, so I'm going to give you a question here on LSD. You haven't given it to you. I'm just going to give you a hint. The doses of LSD are so small, we haven't talked about drug doses that small before. So get your clickers out, we'll ask the question. Haven't opened it up yet. All right. Son of a bitch, it did it again. I don't understand why it's doing this. Fix it with the other classes. I really want you to get these, I mean, I have to give you these points. Just give it the points. I know. Got it. Yeah, well,